Nancy Roberts, and I'm an economics professor at Arizona State University. Today we're going to talk about trade, but we're going to talk about it from a different perspective than we have in the past. In the past, we've talked about trade using production possibilities curves. Today, I want to talk about trade using supply and demand. And so let's just assume we have a domestic economy, and here's the supply curve, here's the demand curve for, I don't know, let's have it be cars. And here's the equilibrium price. Let's say, well, this can't be cars because I'm going to use a price of $30. So this could be, what costs $30? A really good pizza. No, we can't import pizzas. Okay, so this is going to be shoes. So $30 is the equilibrium price. I'll go ahead and identify that. And the equilibrium quantity is 400 per time period. So in this domestic economy, there's a domestic supply of shoes, there's a domestic demand for shoes, and 400 pairs of shoes are exchanged between buyer and seller every time period at a price of $30. And you can see consumer surplus. Actually, let me just put a number up here. Let's make this $50. So that we can figure consumer surplus and producer surplus, which you will remember from our earlier discussions, is wealth within an economy in any given market. Consumer surplus is this area right here. So consumer surplus is equal to 1/2 400 times the height, which is 20. So that equals $4,000. So consumer surplus in this economy is $4,000. Producer surplus is this area down here. Producer surplus, which is, again, 1/2. The base is 400. And the height is, again, 20. So producer surplus is also $4,000. So within this economy, the total surplus, the total wealth, is $8,000. Now, there's no reason to expect that producer and consumer surplus will be the same in any given market. It's just because of the way I've drawn this. Now, if some other country is able to produce shoes at a lower opportunity cost, and we've already talked about lower opportunity costs, and it gives the other country a comparative advantage. If some other country is able to produce shoes at a lower opportunity cost than this domestic economy, then if we import shoes into this economy, what will happen is this supply curve will increase. Because here's the domestic supply. When we add the foreign supply to it, and I'm not going to draw the supply curve in here because then the diagram will get really trashed. But if I just increase the supply, because now we're going to allow foreign imports of shoes, then my new supply curve, let's say, goes through right here. And so that would mean, I'm just going to give this a number. I'm going to say this is 700, and I'm going to say the price is $15. So if we allow foreign imports of shoes into the country, my supply curve will increase. My new equilibrium will be at $15 and 700 units. Now, what we need to do is look at how this impacts the domestic economy, because there are some groups that are better off and there are some groups that are not better off. And so there are gains and there are losses, and what we need to do is look at the net effect. So I'm going to give, let's just mark this. Let's say this is 100 units. Okay. 1, 2, I'm going to call these areas 3, 4, 5. Look at these areas. Area 1 was consumer surplus when the economy was closed. Area 2 plus 5 was producer surplus when the economy was closed. now that it's open, now that we've allowed these foreign shoes into the country, consumer surplus is everything above the price and below the demand curve. So consumer surplus is now 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So clearly, the gain to consumers is 2 plus 3 plus 4. Area 2 plus area 3 plus area 4. That's the gain to consumers from this importing of shoes. Now, domestic producers have lost. In fact, area 2 used to be domestic producer surplus, but area 2 now is part of consumer surplus. So in fact, area 2 is a wealth transfer within the economy. It's still in the economy. It's just been transferred from domestic producers to domestic consumers. What's new in the economy is area 3 and 4. So the net gain is area 3 and 4. Here we had producer surplus before, consumer surplus before, so the total surplus before was $8,000. Let's look at total surplus now. Total surplus now is this big triangle right here. 1/2 700 times 15 to 50 is 35, which is equal to, perhaps I should look at that, $12,250. $12,250. And producer surplus is this tiny little triangle right here, which is 1/2 100 times 5. So 5 times 50 is 250. So $13,000. No, $12,500 is my total surplus. $12,500. So compare this, $12,500, with this, $8,000, and the economy is better off. Now, what's happened is consumers buy more cars, more shoes than they did before, and they buy them at a lower price. The domestic producers actually sell fewer shoes than they did before. They're only going to sell 100 now instead of 400, and they only get $15 for them instead of $30. So domestic producers have lost, domestic consumers have gained. Consumers gained more than producers lost. And so the economy as a whole has benefited. Now, the next video I'm going to look at this from the perspective of the domestic producers when the domestic economy exports. But you can see with imports coming into the economy is better off and the gains go to the consumers. In the next video we'll look at gains going to producers.